love these reindeer. There's so much that you can do with these. All right, these have to be new this year. These sleds are so cute. There's a bunch of different styles. I'm gonna try to use these in a DIY. So I picked up one of these wood sleds and I thought, you know, if I change the stain of this, I feel like it could look a lot more high end. So I grabbed my dark stain. I've been loving the dark stain lately, and I'm gonna use my foam brush to brush on the stain. You wanna make sure that you do the underside as well. And I just put the stain on with my foam brush and wipe it off immediately with a paper towel. I'm gonna stain the entire piece, let it sit overnight. I'm gonna add back in the twine that was already on the sled.
Next up is the reindeer, so I'm going to spray them with 2 coats of a matte black spray paint. To make the antlers stand out a bit, I'm going to be using some gold rub and buff with a foam brush just on the antlers and the ears. You can style the reindeer with the sled or have them on their own.
We're gonna recreate this bell candle that I found originally at Pottery Barn, but it was way too pricey. I'm gonna show you how you can recreate it for a fraction of the cost. You're gonna need 2 bowls from Dollar Tree, wood rings, and 3 tea light candles. I also picked up some wax melt from Walmart. I'm gonna start by sawing my wood ring in half. I'm gonna use a hacksaw because it's what I had on hand, but you can use any saw you want. I'm gonna add E6000 to the bottom of my wood ring and place it on the bottom of one of my bowls. I'm gonna let that sit overnight and dry. Now, I make candles frequently, so I have a pot that I like to use anytime I'm melting candle wax. I'm gonna put 3 of my candle wax packs into my pot. While I'm waiting for that to melt, I'm gonna pull the tea lights out of the metal containers using a knife. Now you wanna make sure you keep stirring your wax until it's completely melted. Once it's melted, add your wax to the bowl. Okay, so this next part is a little bit trickier. You want to let your wax melt set before you add in your tea light candles, but you have to make sure you don't wait too long. I think whenever I went to put my tea light candles in, I waited a little bit too long. I should have done it probably a few minutes earlier because by the time I put them in, it was already hardened on the top. What I decided to do to fix this problem was I melted some additional wax, just a little bit, about half a package, and I added that on top so it was nice and smooth. You want to make sure your candle has time to completely cool, so I let mine cool overnight. The next day, I came back in, I took both of the bowls, flipped them upside down, and I'm gonna spray paint them with a gold color. Let that dry. And then to finish it off, the bowl where you put the candle in, I wanted the edge of it to look really nice. So I added in some rub and buff. You guys know I use rub and buff all the time, but it's such a great product. I'm gonna add that to the edge of my bowl with a foam brush. Now for the top one, I wanted to add a little bit of nautical rope to the top around my handle. You can really style this candle in several different ways, and I think it looks really similar to the Pottery Barn one. You'll have to let me know what you think. So I've actually been out at the stores looking at ornaments, and you guys, they are expensive this year. I found this set of Mercury ornaments and they were from Crate and Barrel. They were so overpriced. So I was like, okay, how can I recreate these and hang them on my tree? So I got some plastic ornaments from Dollar Tree that were clear. It really doesn't matter the size, you just wanna make sure they're clear ornaments. Next, I picked up some metallic spray paints. Now you might already have this on hand, but I just got some varieties. I got some, like 2 different gold golds and a hammered kind of dark finish. Now to start this off, you're going to take the tops off of your ornaments. Then you're going to add some spray paint into the inside of your ornament. Now this is kind of fun to do, so just spray it in there. Then you're going to twist your ornament around and then set it so the top is on something you don't mind if it gets messed up. I just used a poster board that I had extra from, and you're just going to let your ornament sit upside down, and then all of the paint is going to drain out of there. I would recommend letting these sit overnight. I kind of tried to let them sit for an hour and start painting them again, but that wasn't long enough. Then you're gonna come back in and add some more paint, because you're gonna notice that a lot of the paint's gonna fall out and you probably want more paint. So you can either add the same color or mix it up and add some different colors to add a little bit of variation. Spray your paint in there, do the same thing where you kind of move it around. And then again, let it set so that the top is on something that it can just drain out of. Now, after you do this, take your top pieces and spray those with a metallic spray paint. I went with the darker color just to make it look similar to those Crate and Barrel ones that I saw. And then after everything has a chance to dry, you're gonna put the tops back on your ornament. I added some twine as the top pieces, but you could go in with ribbon or anything that you have. And I'm just going to tie the tops of them and hang these on my tree. I feel like these are very current ornaments and they cost me a fraction of the more expensive ones. So what you're going to need is a plate and a bowl. I'm using clear ones for this DIY. You can get these at Dollar Tree. You're also going to need some miniature trees and some faux snow. I'm going to start by removing the labels and washing my bowl and plate really well. Next, I'm going to start by hot gluing my trees to the base of my bowl. Then I'll add in my faux snow to kind of cover up the bottom portion of that bowl. Then I'll add in some E6000 around the top portion of my bowl. And then I'll place my plate in the middle of my bowl so it's nice and centered. Let that dry overnight. Then you can put on your favorite cookies on this plate. This would be perfect for Santa cookies as well. One of my favorite items to decorate with for Christmas are pine cones, and you can pick them up at the store or you can just find them outside. For this next project, I'm going to be using a combination of ones that I already had from outside and ones that I bought at the store. I'm also going to be using this block that was just a scrap block for me. The size of it was 4 by 4 by 4. I want to create a pine cone tree. So in order to do that, I'm going to drill a hole into my wood block. And I'm also going to be using a 1-inch circular dowel rod. I'm going to add in hot glue just to really secure that dowel rod in place. I'm going to stain this piece with a dark wood stain. You could definitely go lighter or paint it or whatever you like. I'll let this sit overnight. Now the next day when I came back, it was time to add the pine cones. Now for this project, you're gonna need a variety of pine cones. You're gonna need some smaller ones, some larger ones. I also had these ones that I had found around my house that were longer. Those actually worked perfect for the base of this. So I'm gonna start by placing the longer pine cones about, I would say about 4 inches up from the bottom on my dowel rod. Really, I kind of didn't know how this was gonna work out, but I added a bunch of hot glue and held these in place. Now for your bottom 4 pine cones, you're gonna have to really kind of hold these in place for a while until they have a chance to set. I added about 8 pine cones and I noticed that it wasn't super secure. So I decided I'm gonna add a little bit more hot glue and I'm gonna let this sit for 15 minutes to really harden and let my base form. After about 15 minutes, I felt like that strategy worked really well because my base was really formed and I was able to keep adding additional pine cones. After you get your base on, you really want to start thinking about the shape of your tree. So as I was adding in different pine cones, I was really trying to make that cone shape by adding in the different levels. Now it doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to do your best to kind of just make that shape as you're going up. I also added one pine cone to the top of my dowel rod. I noticed that after I was putting on the top pine cones, I had several gaps. So I came back in with several smaller pine cones and added those in where I felt like I needed a little bit more pine cones and to fill in the shape. This next step I was really hesitant to do because I liked the look of it. I loved all the different colors, but I wanted to add some paint to it. So I started on the back because I figured if I didn't like it, I could always just not paint the front and it would still look great. But I did end up liking this. So I used an ivory paint. It was just a sample paint I had on hand, and I just used a foam brush to paint on the outside layers of it. I also decided to paint the base layer and my stem a little bit as well. I wanted to give it a little bit of sparkle, so I added some Mod Podge to the base and the stem. I also wanted to cover up some of the glue that had fallen down as I was putting my pine cones on, and I just added some faux snow around the base as well. This is definitely my favorite project in this video. I love how it turned out. I would love to see your guys' recreations if you make this. You could definitely show it off in our Facebook group. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, it's a great community where you can share your DIY, so you definitely want to go join. And here's a final look at how my pine cone tree turned out.
I always like a snowflake, and if you don't like what's on it, you can always paint it, change it up. This one is all is bright, and there's also one that says let it snow. It's cold outside. So I found this pack of napkins off of Amazon, and I picked them up thinking that they may work for a DIY. So I'm gonna try it with this snowflake. So I'm gonna figure out where on this napkin I want to add to my snowflake, and then I'm gonna position it on top of it. Next, I'm going to cut off the excess. I'm going to add some Mod Podge to the top of my ornament. And then I'm going to place the napkin on top. I really wanted that peacock to show through, so I kind of tried to position it so you could see the whole peacock. I cut off the excess pieces of the napkin, and then I cut slits into the napkin. Next, I'm going to add some Mod Podge to the edges and try to press it down to hold it in place. I kind of used my foam brush as well to kind of hold everything in place. Once it had a chance to dry, I put a coat of Mod Podge over the top and let that completely dry. Now looking back on it, it did show that craft wood through a little bit. I think if I was to do it again, I would probably spray paint the ornament white before I added on the napkin. When I saw this berry garland on Pottery Barn's website, I thought I can recreate this, and it's super easy to do. So from Dollar Tree, you want to pick up a pack of photo hangers. You're also going to get 2 berry garlands. They sell the exact same thing at Dollar Tree. To do this DIY, I'm going to take out all the clothespins. And I'm going to start by spraying these with 2 coats of a red spray paint. I'll flip the clothespins around to make sure I completely cover them with red spray paint. Because my berries were a little bit deeper of a red color, I wanted to kind of mute the red. So I'm going to be using my black Rub and Buff, and I'm just going to lightly brush that around the clothespins with a foam brush. I pulled off a really large piece of twine, and then I'm gonna fold the twine and find the middle. I'm also going to open up each of my berry packs, and I'm going to put them out so they lay flat on my twine.
Next, real simple, all you want to do is start twisting your 2 berry garlands and your twine up. You don't have to really twist them really crazy or anything, just lightly twist them so everything is combined. From there, I'm gonna add the clothespins on, and you can hang this on your fireplace, and you can use this to hang up all of your holiday cards. You guys know I love painting these soaps to make them look a little bit more high end. So I'm gonna start by putting some painter's tape over the Christmas tree portion. I'm also going to take out the stopper on the top portion. And I'm gonna spray the base with a mirror metallic spray paint. I had a little bit of trouble with the lid. I couldn't find something that would hold it in place, but eventually I just kind of used a lid to spray it black. I added the piece that goes on the bottom of the lid and put it back into my soap. This is a festive soap that you can put out in your kitchen or bathroom.
We definitely have to do a wreath for Christmas.
So for a wreath, I'm just gonna be using the outer wreath form. I also picked up some inexpensive greenery from Hobby Lobby. Now I'm gonna start by positioning my greenery on one side. I'm gonna do that by wrapping the base around my wreath form, and then I'll just kind of move around the branches until I like the way they look. I'm gonna repeat those steps on the other side by wrapping greenery on the other side, really making sure to get that base twisted around my wreath form. I'm going to add some additional hot glue at the top on the back to hold that greenery in place. Now recently I bought these adorable bells off of Amazon. They come in a pack of 10. I'll link them for you down in the description box, but I thought they would look so nice on a wreath form. So what I'm gonna do is just grab some twine out of my stash, and I'm going to tie one of the bells to the center portion where I have the greenery meeting at the center. I'm gonna wrap some twine attaching the bell to the center portion of my wreath. Now with 2 other bells, I wanted to add those as well, but I wanted them to be a little bit shorter in height. So I just tied a knot in the existing twine, and I'm gonna use some more twine to hold them in place by tying a knot next to that center one. So in total, I have 3 bells on my wreath form. One of the tips I like to do whenever I'm putting together a wreath is I actually like to hang it up, because I feel like I can see it a little bit better and see what it's going to look like when it's hung up. This is a great strategy to do to kind of decide, do you need to add more? Do you need to take away whenever you're creating a wreath? Once I took a step back, I wanted to move some of the branches around a little bit more. I also felt like I needed another greenery texture. So I went into my stash, found another stem that I already had on hand, and I'm just going to hot glue a few of those greenery pieces in place. You really don't need a lot of greenery for a wreath, just a couple pieces here and there to give it a little bit of texture. A rule of thumb is to use 3 different greenery types when you're making one wreath. It's gonna look so much more full. Even if you're sticking with the same color, it just gives it so much texture and variety. I added in a few pine cones with hot glue, and here's a look at how my wreath turned out. I love making homemade ornaments, especially ones that I can create with my kids. So this next one is a lot of fun. So I picked up these stars from Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna start by adding in some silver rub and buff with my foam brush to the top part of these stars. I'm not gonna completely cover it, just kind of put it on the edge and roughly put the silver on. I have this big pack of cinnamon sticks that I just use in different crafts. I tried to find 2 cinnamon sticks that matched up nicely together. I'm gonna hot glue 2 of the cinnamon sticks together. I'm gonna wrap some twine to the top and tie it in place. I'm also going to add some hot glue on the back, and this is going to serve as the hanger portion of my ornament. Next, I picked up some ribbon from Hobby Lobby, and you could use any ribbon, but I do suggest using a thin ribbon and maybe one that's green. I'm going to wrap around 3 different pieces onto my cinnamon stick. Once I wrap it around once, I'm gonna go back in and tie the knot so that the pieces lay nice and flat. From there, I'm going to cut the pieces so the top one is the smallest, then I have a middle one, and then the one at the bottom is the largest to mimic a Christmas tree. Next, I'll hot glue the star on, and these are adorable ornaments you could add to your tree.
Oh my gosh, they have them. You guys, I have been looking for these poinsettias. I'm so excited.
The reason I like these poinsettias is because I know I can make them look so much more high-end. So I'm gonna be using 3 Dollar Tree pots for this DIY, and I wanted to give them more of an aged look, so I didn't know exactly how I was going to do that. I started by using a paper towel and water, and I'm gonna dab it into some paints I already had on hand. I'm using a terracotta, a white, I actually went in with some blacks too, and I find whenever I'm doing this, I just kind of combine paints until I like the overall look of this. I feel like the terracotta color I used the most, with accents of white to kind of achieve the look I was going for. What I love about painting is it's all about personal preference. You can make them look however you would like them to look. Now I felt like the silver on the top of the poinsettias was a little bold for me, so I went in with some of my rub and buff and a foam brush just to kind of mute them down and give them a little bit more dimension and color. And then I placed the poinsettias into the pots. Here's a look at how they look all 3 together. I absolutely love them. This next ornament I'm absolutely in love with. These terracotta ornaments are so in this year. You're definitely going to want to try them out. So I picked up some clear plastic ornaments from Dollar Tree. And then I have a bunch of just random sample paint that I have around my office. So I grabbed some of my terracottas, some of my ivories that I wanted to use, and I mixed my paint with some baking soda. That's a very popular technique right now. It just adds a little bit more texture to your ornaments. Next, I'm going to paint each of my ornaments with a color. So I'm gonna paint some terracotta, I'm gonna paint some white, some ivory. I have this little wire shelf that I'm gonna put them on to dry.
In my heart, but this year I wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sanctuary. Doesn't matter, it is Christmas in my heart, and I can promise Santa's coming to visit. No, he wouldn't miss this.
While my ornaments are drying, I'm going to add some rub and buff to the top of my ornament toppers. And this rub and buff was kind of like a deeper gold rust color. I'm just going to apply it with a foam brush.
Dance, have a good time, dance, dance, all night long. We're gonna dance, dance, and have a good time. I think Santa's gonna
Now, once that dries and your ornaments are dried, you can add the toppers back on. And I thought since these were a little bit more of a natural ornament, I used some brown yarn that I had, more of a natural color, and I'm going to put that through my ornament and tie it off at the top.
wanna hang out with my friends and family.
And these look great sitting out in a grouping. You could put them in a bowl. So many different options for these ornaments.
All right, you guys, I got a crazy DIY idea. I saw at Pottery Barn, they had these really cool bells. I'm gonna try to recreate them with these stocking hats.
I wish my bells were a little bit bigger, but I'm gonna use what they have at Dollar Tree. I'm gonna start by cutting off the greenery and bows that came on there.
I'm gonna do 1 coat of white spray paint to make sure that when I put the hats on, you can't see any of the gold through. I'm also going to use my wire cutters to cut off this top piece. I don't know if that was necessary, but I ended up doing it for all 3 of them. Then I'm going to wrap my hat around the top. I'm going to cut off any excess. And then I'm going to hot glue it on the back so it's nice and straight all the way around. With the excess on the bottom, I'm going to cut it off so I only have about 1 inch or 2 at the bottom, and then I'll hot glue that on the interior part of my bell. Now for my handle, I'm going to be using these rings that you can pick up at Dollar Tree, and I'll just place those in the center. And I'll repeat those steps for the other 2 bells as well. Now I know they don't look exactly alike, but I was able to get inspiration from those bells, and I think they are really cute.
I feel like I can never find the ribbon that I want from Dollar Tree, so when I see the ribbons that I know I'm gonna want for the season, I definitely pick them up.
Now with the ribbon that I just purchased at Dollar Tree, I'm going to add it to some candles that I already had on hand. You're gonna roughly measure with your ribbon a little bit longer than your candles and cut that off. And then just create several pieces of ribbon. I'm going to be using a product called Scotch Spray Adhesive. I'll link it for you down in the description box, but this product is great for adding fabric to really any item. So I'm going to flip the ribbon onto the back and I'm going to spray on the spray adhesive. Then I'm going to lay the ribbon with the spray adhesive side to my candle at a diagonal. Next, I'll keep putting additional pieces of ribbon on, kind of keeping that same diagonal line and trying to space them out as evenly as possible. Now once I have all my ribbon on, I'm gonna come back in with my scissors. I'm gonna cut the ribbon so that it's nice and even with the top and bottom portion of my candle. And I'll repeat those steps on my second candle, so I have 2 candy cane candles. Now I really wanted to create something to put these candy cane candles in, so I picked up some glass containers at the thrift store as well as some candle holders. Now I didn't like the color of my candle holders, so I took them outside and spray painted them on the top and bottom with a red spray paint. Let that completely dry. I picked up some flat greenery from Hobby Lobby, and I will say with this project, using flat greenery is kind of the key here. I'm going to cut all of the pieces of greenery off of my stems. Next, I'm going to hot glue the greenery onto the side of my clear containers. Now I kind of alternated my greenery, so I had some taller ones and shorter ones just to give a little bit of variation. Now once you have your greenery on, you're going to cut it off at the bottom so you don't see any hanging off of the bottom of your vase. I felt like I needed to add something to the bottom of the vases to finish them off, so I had some red satin ribbon in my stash. I'm going to measure that around and cut it off so there's about probably 1 inch extra when I wrap it around, and then I'm gonna hot glue it onto the back of my vase, and I'll wrap it around and hot glue the other side in place. I'm going to add some E6000 to the top of my candlesticks, making sure I get enough E6000 to the top edge of my candlesticks. Then I'm going to add the glass candle holders on top, and I'll let these dry completely overnight. You can style these with regular candles, or you can put your candy cane candles inside.
I just found something that was left over for fall, but I think I'm gonna use it for Christmas decor. All right, these trees, you guys, they've been around for years, but they're always great decor.
I'll just start by removing the leaf off of this container. Then I'm gonna take my tree out, put a lot of hot glue at the bottom of my container and on the base of my tree, and then I'll place it in the center of the container. Next, I'm gonna spread out the branches. This next technique I have used for several years now. Essentially what I'm gonna do is get a packet of these greenery pieces and I'm gonna wrap them around. Why I'm doing this is just to make the tree look more full and to look a little bit more high end than a $1.25 tree. Now in the base of my container, I'm gonna add in some faux snow. This was a little tricky to do, but I ended up getting it to work. Now I couldn't decide if I wanted to flock this tree or leave it as is. I kind of had this idea, what if I painted the tree? So I'm gonna use that same ivory sample paint and I'm just going to paint on the top of my tree. You wanna concentrate your paint on the top so it looks like snow is falling down on top of your tree. But I actually really like the way this turned out. If you don't have anything to flock your tree with, try some paint.
I've decorated everything to be perfect for this week. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me.
A lot of times I see items like this that I love, but I know they're not gonna fit in with my color scheme or decor at my house. So don't be afraid to paint the items at Dollar Tree to really fit in with your home.
So I picked up 3 of the nutcrackers and I'm gonna start by removing the hair and the beards. And I just used a regular screwdriver to kind of just pull it off, and that seemed to be the easiest technique. If there was any hair left on there, I was using my scissors just to cut it off. Next, I'm going to spray paint the tops and bottoms of these nutcrackers with 2 coats of a matte black spray paint. I love spray paint because it can really transform the look of any decor piece, and here's how they look together in my home. I was really excited to find these black candle holders at Dollar Tree. They are definitely new this year, so I picked up 2 of those. I also grabbed some green tapered candles. I will link them for you down in the description box. Along with any other products you see in this video, what I'm wearing, it's always down in the description box. So I wanted to do a fun paint pour technique on these candles. So with my paint pours, I like to use this product called Floetrol. It works really good to kind of make your paint more runny, if that makes sense. So if you have a thicker paint, it just kind of makes it so it's better for a paint pour. So I mixed some of the Floetrol with a metallic gold paint. Honestly, you can use any paint you want. I know some people are like, do you use specific paint pour paints? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's really not necessary, but this product you can buy. I think we got this at Lowe's, so you can pick it up there. So mix your Floetrol with your paint, and then you're going to simply pour it over the top. I put my 2 candles on a box just so I had a surface where they could kind of drip the paint. You're gonna let your candle sit overnight until the paint completely drips off. Now I know some people are like, Liz, why do you waste all that paint? Why do you drip the paint? 1, I think paint pour is super fun. It's one of my favorite ways to paint. And 2, if you were to use a brush, it's gonna take you several coats to have that thick consistency that you get with a paint pour, and you may not even be able to achieve it. So sometimes you need a paint pour if you really want like a strong concentrated color. After my candles dried overnight, I just added them into the candle holders I picked up from Dollar Tree. I have another fun ornament idea for you. So you're gonna pick up some of these wood stars from Dollar Tree and then just pull any yarn that you have out of your stash to use for this. I have a red, a green, kind of like a black color that I'm gonna be using for these stars. I'm gonna use the twine that they already have provided, and I'm gonna wrap that around to create a hanger for my star. Then I'm going to take my twine, hot glue it to the back of my ornament, and I'm gonna start wrapping the edges of the stars. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm gonna add hot glue to the back until I get to the very ends, and I'll just wrap all the edges.
Everything will be okay, 'cause all I wanna do is spend this holiday with you. Tomorrow it is Christmas,
Now, when I get to the edge with the hanger for the top, just cover that up so you just see the little loop at the top as well. Once you get the edges covered, go back in, and there's really no rhyme or reason to this. You're just going to keep covering until you get the center portion covered. And then hot glue your yarn to the back, cut off any excess, and you can repeat this for all of your stars.
Stars for you and me. Another year went by, but the difference
I think these look so natural and beautiful for the holidays.
tomorrow it is Christmas. The first for you and me.
I feel like antlers are going to be so popular this Christmas season. I've seen them all over Pottery Barn's website. So when I saw these antler ornaments at Dollar Tree, I definitely wanted to do a project with them. So for this next project, you're going to need 2 packs of antler ornaments. You're also going to need a base. I'm using these round mirrors that you can pick up at any craft store. And then you're also going to need any white or cream candle that you have on hand. I'm going to start positioning the antlers around my mirror. And I'm also going to put the candle in the middle just to make sure that I have enough room. Then once I get the antlers where I think they need to go, I'm going to hot glue them in place just by putting hot glue on either side of my antlers. Then just repeat those steps with your second candle. And I think they look so high-end displayed in my home.
I have not tried these yet, but I have a fun DIY in mind for these.
Love these wood pieces. They make such fun crafts.
Along with the wood pieces, I also picked up an ornament. I'm going to use that tile piece. I took it out of the packaging and just traced around the back of it. I used some hot glue to hold it in place. I poked a hole in the top so I would be able to hang it down the road. I'm going to spray paint it with a bright red spray paint. With the ornament that I'm going to be using, I just pulled off the existing ribbon on there. Now this created a little bit of a problem, so I got some greenery out that I picked up from Dollar Tree. I'm going to add that to my ornament. And then I'm also going to add in a snowflake and some twine that I had. The snowflake is actually from Amazon, but they have something similar at Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to use some green ribbon to attach it to the top of my ornament. I'm going to hot glue the reindeer to the red ornament. Now with this type of ornament, you could display it on its own. I actually put it in the middle of a wreath and I love the way it looks. So I've noticed in a lot of high-end stores, people are putting out matchsticks. I even did a DIY with them, I think at the beginning of this last year. So I wanted to show you how to do it kind of with a holiday version. So I bought one of these glass containers with a lid from Dollar Tree. I also bought a container of their matches that they sell at Dollar Tree. I'm gonna empty the contents out of the glass container. I'm gonna get one box of the matches and they actually fit perfectly into this glass container. I'm gonna put the cork lid back on the top, add a little bit of twine, and you can set these out next to any existing candles you have in your decor. I didn't realize how many dupes I actually have in this video. So this next one is a dupe that I saw off of Pottery Barn's website. It was a wreath hanger that I thought was super cute. And so I kind of went to Dollar Tree thinking, can I recreate this? I'll see what I can find. Of course, Dollar Tree has their wreath hangers for $1.25. So I started looking around in the ornament section. I came across this deer head that I thought would be perfect because the back of it was flat and I knew that would work to add to my hanger. So I started by removing all of like the greenery and ribbon on my reindeer. I added hot glue in E6000 to the back of the reindeer, and then I put it onto the front piece of my hanger. Sometimes I get asked questions, Liz, why do you add in E6000 and hot glue? Well, the reason why is E6000 creates a really like hard bond that's gonna last for a while. So the E6000 is gonna give me that really good bond, but the hot glue gives me an immediate bond. That way I'm able to move on with my project if I add in the hot glue as well, because I can take it out and spray paint and it's gonna hold together. Now, once that had a chance to completely dry, I spray painted the back of it with a metallic silver spray paint. Let that dry, flipped it over, and did the front side with the same spray paint. I definitely think that dressed up this hanger, and you'll have to let me know if you think it looks similar to the Pottery Barn one. And this is how the wreath hanger turned out.
I got a great, easy DIY idea for these snowmen.
Last year I thought about how things can come around just like that.
So it's raining outside and I need to spray paint, so I'm gonna try to hide underneath the awning and hopefully spray paint. I'm gonna be adding a hunter green gloss paint to my snowman. I'm just gonna spray paint one side, making sure I get the edges as well. Next, I grabbed some hunter green yarn that I already had in my stash. I'm gonna create some loops and just tie them off. Now with my 3 snowman, I wanna make them as even as possible. That's gonna help me when I start stringing them on.
My favorite holiday. It means so much more than words can say. And I claim Christmas is
So if you haven't guessed already, we are making a garland. So I grabbed some twine and looped it through one of my snowmen, figured out where the center portion is.
but it's fair to say that Christmas is a magic day.
Next, I picked up these fun beads. You guys, these are from Amazon. I'll link them for you down in the description box. And I am simply going to lace the beads onto my twine. I had a little bit of trouble putting them on there, so I ended up using something to kind of push them through. That helped a little bit, but I'm gonna put 3 beads in between each of my snowman on either side. I just added beads until I was happy with the look of this. These are so big that you really don't need a ton to create a big statement. And I added these to a picture frame, but you could also put them on a fireplace.
We gather around the fireplace, and no one cares about yesterday. My favorite holiday.
I wanted to show you guys how to put together a fun Christmas pillow. I went to Joann's and picked up some fabric that mimicked the look of a candy cane. I wanted the pillow to be in the shape of a lumbar pillow, so I'm going to fold the fabric over in half, and then I'm going to measure my fabric to be 22 inches by 12 inches. And then I'm just gonna use a Sharpie to draw a straight line and then cut both of my fabric pieces out. I do recommend ironing them or using a heat press to get them nice and flat. Next, I'm going to put both of the right sides together. I'm going to pin all of the edges. Then I'm going to begin sewing the edges, leaving a small opening. And once I get all of the edges sewn together, I'm going to flip the pillow so the right side is out, paying attention to those corners, making sure those corners get pushed out really nicely. You can use your fingernail or a pin or something to work on your corners. You could stuff this with a pillow. I'm actually going to be using some polyfill. So to do that, I'm just going to place it around the edges, and you want to just add it until it's as full as possible. Now you could close this up by sewing. I'm going to take the easy route and just add some hot glue and close up the opening on my pillow. Next, I'm going to fold over a scrap of fabric that I pressed in place. And I'm going to hot glue one side of it to the back of my pillow. I'm going to hot glue the other edge of that fabric so it's folded over nicely. Then I'm going to pull that fabric tight around my pillow to create a bow. Now at this point, you want to kind of move your pillow around until you get that desired look that you're going for. You don't have to immediately hot glue it in place. Now once you're happy with the way it looks, hot glue your center ribbon to the back of your pillow. And I think this looks so festive sitting out for the holidays.
I'm gonna use these to make an awesome Christmas DIY.
The floral foam pieces are really nice and you can typically find them at your store. So I'm gonna start by cutting one of the pieces down with my saw. I tried to make it really straight so that it stood up nice and level. Next, I'm going to be using nautical rope and I'm going to put some hot glue at the top of my cone. I'm going to start by twisting the nautical rope around the top of my tree, or I guess it's going to be a tree. I'm going to start wrapping it around, adding hot glue periodically. My tip whenever you're doing this is try to make your rope as tightly packed as possible. That's going to make it look way more high end. And you're going to follow the rope down until you cover all of your foam and then just hot glue it to the base. Next, I found this really fun chunky yarn. I believe originally I got it at Walmart, and I'm going to do the exact same thing I did with the nautical rope. I'm just going to wrap it around. I feel like this chunky yarn really adds a lot of texture, so I love the way it turned out on this piece. After looking at them, I decided I wanted to add some bows to the top, so I had some green ribbon on hand. I'm going to tie 2 cute bows with some long tails. And then I'll hot glue them to the top of my trees. Then I'll cut the tails to be the length that I want them to be. So I love this metal reindeer. I'm not a fan of the snowflake, but you could take that off and spray paint this to match whatever your decor is. You could spray paint it red, black, green, blue, anything. And this one is $10. So that's exactly what we're gonna do with these reindeers. I picked up 2 of them. They're a little bit different, but I started by just removing this snowflake. It was a little tedious to do, but I'm using my wire cutters to help me out, and I was able to get them off with pretty minimal effort. Now I will say it did leave a little bit of an opening on the reindeer, so when you spray paint them, you're just gonna have to show them on the other side. Now I did have trouble figuring out what color spray paint I wanted to use. I went with like a light brown. I was trying to make kind of a natural look. And then I decided to come in with this warm caramel, but honestly, spray paint these to be whatever color fits in with your decor. I love adding reindeers in my decor, and here's a look at how mine turned out.
Okay, so I have to get the stars in the very back. I'm nervous. These are ceramic. I'm gonna get 3 of these stars for a DIY. Okay, get it.
Let's DIY these ornaments. I wanted to make a gingerbread style ornament. So I'm gonna take my cork pieces, turn them over on the back, and then I'm gonna trace my ceramic ornaments. I'll cut out the stars. What I love about these cork pieces is they actually have adhesive on the back. So I'm gonna take the adhesive off and put it directly onto my ornament. I'm gonna use some leftover ivory paint and more of a detailed brush, and I wanted to do a fun snowflake pattern. Now I did have to double up the paint a little bit because I was painting on cork, but I essentially did the same pattern on each of my stars. I love crafts like this. I think they're so fun to put together. You could also do this craft with your kids and they could have fun painting these. And here's how they look on my tree.
I'm gonna use these glass containers to create a fun Christmas DIY.
You also want to grab these trees or something in this shape that you can use to create a nose. So I'm going to take my 3 containers and some E6000. I'm going to put E6000 around the rim of all of my containers, and then I'm going to stack them on top of each other. Now, these were a little bit harder than I thought to stay in place, so I actually put them the other way to let them sit and dry. I tried to make them be as level as possible, and then I set them to dry overnight. Next, I'm going to be using the ice spray paint. I really love this spray paint because of the see-through appearance, and I think it really mimics the look of snow. Once that had a chance to dry, I had these half circle pieces in my stash of wooden items. I'll link them for you below. I'm going to be using Rub and Buff to paint the tops of these, just with a foam brush. I'm going to cut the base off of the tree, and then I'm going to put it in the middle as his nose. Now, if you haven't guessed yet, I'm creating a miniature snowman. I'll also hot glue the eyes on. I wanted to give him a little scarf, so I had this green ribbon in my stash from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to loosely tie it around once and just snip off the ends. And here's a look at my snowman I made with common Dollar Tree items. I made a similar snowman last year where I just used bigger vases and I used the same spray paint and I just used a few different items for the nose and the mouth. So with my wood cutout, I'm going to make a wall art piece that you can sit out in your decor. I'm also going to be using some spackling. Now they sell this at Dollar Tree or you can pick it up at any home improvement store. You want to put a generous layer of spackling onto your wood piece. Now, after you get all your spackling on there, you're going to come back in and I'm going to be using a Dollar Tree craft tool. I'm going to be using the back side of my craft tool to create a uniform shape going across my tree. Now, if you get excess spackling on, just wipe it off in the tub so that you really create a uniform shape. Now there's gonna be a lot of spackling, so let this dry completely overnight before you try to do anything with it. The next day I came back and everything was dry. I spray painted with 1 coat of a white matte spray paint. Now, while my spray paint was still wet, I used some faux snow from Dollar Tree and I sprinkled it onto my piece and concentrating the snow at the top, and then I kind of just did it lightly as it went down. Now you can lean this against a vase or lean it against a wall if you want to, or hang it on your wall, but it's a great addition to your decor. Repurpose these 3 domes that I used for a project in the spring. And I'm going to take the bases that I had already spray painted. Now these you can buy at Dollar Tree right now. And I'm going to spray paint the bases with a gold color. I'm going to use those same wood pieces that I used earlier and some pine cones that I grabbed from my backyard, and I'm going to hot glue the pine cones to the wood bases. Now you just want to make sure that your wood bases are going to fit inside of your domes. Next, I picked up some pearls from Dollar Tree and I'm going to use the largest ones and hot glue those like sporadically around my pine cones. I'm also going to hot glue some of the smaller pearls around the top of my pine cone. I'll add on the top part of the dome, and I think these look great sitting out in a grouping of 3. Next, I'm going to show you how to make a snowflake wall art that actually is more of like a winter wall art you could keep up past Christmas. So you're going to need 2 hoops. You could use hoops of any size. You're also going to need some snowflakes. I bought this pack from Dollar Tree, and some macrame. So I'm going to start by hot gluing my macrame to the back of my hoops. Then I'm going to wrap it tightly around my hoops. I want to cover about half of my hoops, so I'm going to keep wrapping and hot gluing periodically on the back. Now, one of my tips is you want to make sure that you push the macrame really tight together. It's just going to give it much more of a high-end look. Once half of my hoop is covered with macrame, I'll hot glue it and cut off the excess. I'm gonna hot glue one of my snowflakes to the back side of my hoop, making sure that I hot glue where the hole on the snowflake is for the ornament. I'm gonna cut off some yarn that I already had on hand. I love this green one. I'm gonna thread it through my hoop to use for hanging. I'm going to repeat all these steps and create a second hoop to hang up.
You could add these hanging bells to a wreath, or you could put them with your garland. I feel like this might make a good DIY.
So I'm going to start by detaching my 2 bells. I'm going to keep this nautical rope because I plan to use it at the end. Next, I'm going to take off the hanging pieces because I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with them, so I went ahead and took those off. Next, I'm going to use my rub and buff. I wanted these to have a gold appearance, but I also wanted to mix 2 colors to really have like a variation in the tone. And I'm going to use a foam brush and add the rub and buff on. I'm also going to put the rub and buff on the center because these are going to go on my mantle, and I want to make sure that you can't see the white on the inside.
Yes, I am on my way. We'll put our differences aside.
I added rub and buff to the center pieces as well.
Love and happiness. We come together to celebrate. Yes, every time.
Next, I grabbed some twine that I had, and I'm going to start by just twisting it at the bottom, putting a little bit of hot glue at the bottom, and then wrapping it all the way up and then hot gluing at the top. And then I'm going to use my wire cutters to attach these back onto my bells. I'll use the existing nautical rope to tie them back together. And then I just hung them on the center of my mantle. I'll show you guys how it looks.
I got a quick DIY for this wreath. I'm gonna pick up 3 of these trees.
This next DIY is so quick and easy. I'm going to take my wire cutters and cut off the base of my trees. Now, I thought maybe I could stick the base into the side of the tree, but that wasn't working very well. So I ended up cutting off most of the stem and then just used hot glue to place the trees where I wanted them. With my 2 trees on the side, I actually cut off the bottom portion so that my tree in the middle was larger than my trees on the side. Used quite a bit of hot glue and just placed them down. I added in additional hot glue to the back until I felt like they were really secure.
What glory this holiday represents. To say that Christmas is a magic day.
One of the best and oldest ways to decorate your home for the holidays is to find some sticks outside and spray paint them. I'm going to use that metallic spray paint that I was using earlier in the gold color to spray my sticks on one side. Once it dries, I'll flip them over and do it on the opposite side. And you can add these to any vase around your home. It's going to be so much less expensive than going out and spending a lot of money on florals. Plus it adds height, and I just think it looks really high end.
Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me.
This next DIY is a quick and easy candle DIY. So from Dollar Tree, I picked up some miniature ornaments. I also picked up some greenery pieces. Now, I absolutely love these greenery pieces. If you haven't grabbed them at Dollar Tree yet, go ahead and pick them up. They're awesome. And then you just need any candle. My candle is from Target, but use any that you already have. And I'm gonna start by taking the tops off of my ornaments. Now, I went with some gold ornaments.
We'll be chilling and happy.
And then you're going to hot glue the ornaments to the base of your candle.
If the snow is falling, or the wind blows and the rain is pouring.
I was alternating the finish on my gold, but you could do all the same ones, whatever you like.
This year I wanna hang out with my friends and
I would say the key is just make sure the top of your ornaments are facing up.
doesn't matter, it is
Then I'm gonna start cutting off the sprigs on my greenery piece. I had varying sizes, so I'm gonna alternate tall with the shorter pieces.
it. No, he wouldn't miss this in Christmas.
I want to add the sprigs to the top of my ornaments to make them look like miniature trees. So I added some hot glue to the bottom of my sprigs and put them on the top of my ornaments. And I did that all the way around my candle.
Wanna hang out with my friends and family, making angels in
And you can just set this candle out with your decor.
doesn't matter, it is Christmas in my heart.
Next, we're gonna create a beaded tree. So to do this, I'm going to be using some beads that I picked up during the fall season, but you probably can still get them at Dollar Tree. And these beads are already strung on some twine. I'm also going to be using a wood base. I have these in a pack that I've had probably for a couple of years now, but you can pick them up anywhere. I'm gonna start by taking a floral wire and I'm going to push it through my beads while they're still strung up. This is so much easier to do than taking the beads off the string. Push the wire through all of your beads. Once you get to the end, you're just going to take the wire and bend it down to kind of hold it in place. Then you're going to cut the string because we're not going to be using any of the other beads. Now from here, what you want to do is you're going to start twisting your beads in kind of a circle formation to create a Christmas tree. So as you're twisting them, you want to get smaller and smaller as you go up. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can always move the wire until you get the look that you're going for. Next, I'm going to hot glue the bottom beads to the base of my wood piece. Now, once you get it hot glued, reshape your tree till you get it exactly how you want it to be. I thought it would be cute to add a star. I had this gold one from Dollar Tree, so I'm gonna hot glue that to the top. Next, I'm going to add some faux snow. Now you can pick this up anywhere. Hobby Lobby, Walmart sells it as well. I'm gonna add a little bit of faux snow to it just to give it a little bit something extra. Now, after I added the faux snow, I did wipe it off of the star because I wanted to be able to see the gold of the star. And you can style this with any of your Christmas decor. I love shopping at Dollar Tree and just finding items that I know are gonna be so fun for DIYs. So I found a snowflake garland and I thought this would be perfect for this next DIY. I'm gonna be using a canvas. Use any size you have. Mine is 16 by 20. I bought it in a larger pack from Hobby Lobby, but you could make it larger or smaller. I'm gonna put the garland out on top of my canvas, and then I'm gonna take it outside with some blue spray paint, and I'm going to spray paint the top of it. Now something happened here and I lost some of my spray painting footage, but I essentially just spray painted over the top of my canvas. Let that dry completely. Make sure there's not any other spots where you need to add in additional paint. Then you're going to pull off your wood piece. Now from here, you may notice that you have some areas that don't look the best. What I like to do is just add in additional spray paint with a foam brush. So I put a little bit of spray paint out on my table and then just dabbed it on with my foam brush. Let that dry, and then you have an inexpensive wall art piece to put out with your holiday decor.
I just found these trees, you guys, only $7, and I think they're gonna be so great. They have one that's flocked, they have this one, and then a plain one. I think I'm gonna grab this one and then maybe change out the pot. So I feel like this Christmas tree just needs something at the base. So I'm over in like kind of the kitchen towel section, looking to see if there's any options here. Like there's some table runners. I'm gonna try this one and see if there's enough fabric here that it would wrap around. Okay, it would have to be like this. Okay, so I may be a little short. So I'd have to do something in the back. There's these cute tassels, which I really like as well. Okay, I don't like that as well with the tree. Maybe I need one like this. I'm wondering if I could wrap vertically, and then that way I'd be able to get it around the whole entire thing. See, this one I can't because I can't wrap this one vertically. So I'm thinking this one might be the winner.
So I love the way the tree looked. I just wanted to update the base a little bit. Now, if you didn't want to wrap it, you could always put it in a larger pot or a crock that you had on hand. First, I'm just going to wrap my tea towel around and cut it so I have an overhang of about 2 inches. Next, I'm using one of my favorite sprays whenever I'm adding fabric to a piece, and that's the Scotch fabric spray. It is great for really holding items in place. So I'm going to put it all over my fabric, wrap my fabric around my tree, making sure that it's nice and straight. Then I'm going to tuck the top portion in. I'll cut off the excess, leaving about 1 inch or 2 at the bottom, and then I will tuck that in. Now at this point, if you need any more spray, you can add it. You could also add in hot glue, but I'm telling you that Scotch fabric spray really does a great job. I'll link it for you down in the description box. Now, since you can see the inside a little bit, I'm just going to add in some pine cones. Then I'll just pull out the branches, making sure I fluff them as much as possible. And here's how it looks displayed in my home.
These craft sticks are great for wall art projects.
I'm going to show you how to put together a fun wall art piece. So with your craft sticks, I'm going to hot glue 2 of them together. Then I'm going to hot glue 2 more to create a plus symbol. Next, I'm going to add in 4 more craft sticks for a total of 8 craft sticks. Once that has a chance to dry, you're gonna come back in and add 2 craft sticks on each of the ends and then put them together to create a point. You're gonna do that going around, adding in 2 and then putting them at a point to create a star. For this project, I'm going to be using some thin garland that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to start on the outside edge, hot gluing the garland down. You want to make sure you put enough hot glue on your entire craft stick. Once that dries, you're gonna bend your garland because there's a wire in there so it bends really nicely. Push the garland down flat and hot glue it in place. You're gonna do this until you get around your entire garland. Once you get to the end, make sure you cut off any excess. Next, you're going to add the garland to the inside portion of your stars, cutting when needed. Now, on this piece, I didn't overlap any of the garland just to give it a really consistent look. This is a nice lightweight wall decor that you can set out with your decor or hang on your wall.